Hello everyone, Ravinder once again here. Now let's see the situation as happening in Ukraine as of 28th of April 2022. Now you can see I am just trying to show you what has happened till now. Initially, Russians launched an operation on February 24th. Before that, Crimea and certain portion of Donbas region was under their control. This is where separatists were there, and this is was a declared part of Russia. So airhead was made next to Kiev to have the psychological paralysis, make the country fall because the capital falls, the country will fall. This airhead was a good link up was done in the initial stages itself, and some large force moved towards south. This was more of a force which was show of force, less number of fighting elements here, and special operations were carried out by special forces here. Rest of the forces, the regular forces, you can see uh, initially they tried to do some action in the northeast and limited action in the east area. Similarly, in the south, just outside Crimea, basically major operations were launched to capture Kherson area and carry out this link up or land corridor between Donbass and Crimea by moving towards east from this area. And good success was ensured this time. In fact, the forces could move to Zaporizhzhia. This is Rakhine force, as also Mykolaiv. That is again Rakhine force. So Rakhine force is basically trying to find weak spots in the enemy defenses, and where there are good gaps available, from there try and envelop and destroy the forces opposing. So after this phase, and since the country did not succumb to the pressures or the attack from all directions, Russians now went back to the classical mechanized operations, wherein concentration of force is one major principle. Unless until you have the concentration of force, chances of annihilating anyone who would be standing up to defend is very difficult. So as I had already mentioned in my first presentation, as to how the operations are going to take place. We had discussed the Ukrainian strength. Ukraine had a good amount of forces, but had a basic aim of fighting an irregular kind of a war based on their irregulars and militias which were operating through towns. Since 2014, great amount of emphasis had been put in this irregular warfare because that is the kind of warfare which can be successful against a mighty army. Now, Western support had been coming in this regard, and Ukrainians had been organized accordingly. So, by 6th of April, this northern area was vacated. The force which was supposed to have the 6th Army as a flank protection and 4th Guard Army as the main force which was to come and swing south. So this major envelopment was converted to a minor envelopment in which the 4th Guard Army and 6th Army probably are now trying to move south with lesser uh, of area being covered in the initial stages. However, they are progressing well as of now. If you can see, this complete orange color area is uh, under Russian control now, which is Ukrainian area. And let us see this complete operation in detail. As you can see, the forces swung south and now have captured an area which was really in the initial stage. This area was not captured, have captured this area and are now in the process of trying to envelop Kramatorsk, which is a major town of Donbass, and trying to make inroad here in the Donetsk. Now, if these two fall, the chances of this Donbass area going to the Russian hands is there, and if the complete Donbass is freed, then Russia can claim to have that political aim back home to have met that They have captured the Donbass, which was proving very difficult since 2014. They were trying to move ahead and capture the complete area, which was not possible. As also they should be able to reassure the public here, which had taken the side with the Russians and which is mostly Russian speaking, that they have suffered largely since 2014 against the Ukrainians, and now this area is free. So political aim is met. How far this area of Kharkiv is retained by Russia is probably for the negotiation table. Now, in the south, it is a little interesting because Russia has established a land corridor. Now, this land corridor is very vital because they want to retain this Crimean peninsula at any cost because it's so strategic. The presence of Russian fleet here is so strategic. It can monitor NATO movement in the Mediterranean. It's so strategic that they cannot afford to now say no to this land corridor, which has been captured by them. That is why there is so much of emphasis on capturing of Mariupol, and there is so much of emphasis by Russians not to try and negotiate Mariupol at all. What they might be negotiating is this area, the Kherson area, probably because Kherson has been captured by them, and Kherson area is probably the Russians might try and negotiate on the negotiating table, if at all it comes for negotiations, because they would like to retain the area which is bounded by Melitopol and Mariupol, and then connecting to the Donbas region. They have been very largely successful in this area. However, Ukrainians are trying to retake some areas, not only here but also in Kharkiv area, and they are trying to do counterattacks. But at the moment, they have Kherson. They have almost the complete region of Kherson under their belt. This the Dnipro River is to the east of it, under this, just below this line of lake, is all captured, extending towards east. So they have done a reasonable amount of planning here and how to establish this land corridor, and have been largely successful. Now, what happens in future is very difficult to say. But if one is on the Russian side, and if things like a Russian, then probably this is not for negotiation. Probably this area, or maybe the Kharkiv area, which has been captured by Russians, may be up for negotiation, and they would maybe they would try and barter these areas for acceptance of Donbas to be part of Russia. That is the latest stage. But Crimea is very critical, and Crimea and its land corridor with Russia is very critical for Russia. So that is something which is not likely to be on negotiating table as far as Russia is concerned. Ukrainians till now have done well to withhold the might of Russian army. Uh, Sheer numbers of such a large army and sheer number of missiles which have been rained onto this country is unimaginable, and the will of the people is something which is amazing. So both sides are fighting well. Russians, by their strategic, their numbers, their ability to bring to force such large numbers of weapons and equipment, which is a very difficult task logistically, and Ukrainians for withstanding this onslaught. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the bell icon.